What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Fourth and Wrong podcast. I am one of your hosts, Marshall, along with Colin, Dallas, and Donnie. We are in the final week of the NFL regular season. It's sad it's sad but exciting at the same time to think that just the other day, it feels like week one was starting, and now we're all the way down to the last week, week 18. But week 17 just wrapped up. It was a wild week to say for sure. A couple divisions were clinched. A couple matchups have been set for this Week 18 finale, and then there's a lot to go over. But first, I will go over how we all did this last week in terms of our picks. So it's gonna come. Obviously, Colin and Dallas are really close in terms of their picks. This week, in last place with their picks, I'm hedging a bet kind of, so I picked some stupid picks in theory.
What was defending it before he even says it?
In theory,
Gee, I wonder who it is.
Bro's been hedging all year.
In theory, like I picked picking Carolina over Tampa Bay. That was just because if Carolina won, I was fucked. So I went 10-6 though, even for taking last place. 10-6.
That ain't bad. That ain't bad.
10-6 to last place ain't bad.
Tied for first place.
Damn, bro.
Is this back-to-back weeks?
This is triple.
This is like I was gonna say back to back to back.
3 in a row.
This will be the week though, because like you said, all the fucking starters sitting for a lot
Tied
of
at
teams.
14-2.
Wow.
This is Dallas and Colin.
Yeah.
Fuck. You said that like it was a three-way tie.
No, you went 13.
Oh, I also interpreted it as a
also
three-way
interpreted
tie,
it as
and
a
then I didn't
three-way
even
tie.
question it when you only said two names.
No, because he said him, and
Oh.
then he said at a tie for first, like because he didn't say it. Yeah, Marshall, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of only did that because if I said one second to last is Donnie at 13-3, the winners would have already been like, oh, okay, so we won. So I just
Yeah,
kind
you
of
could have done in second place, Donnie, and tied for first. Those two.
because
I don't
dramatic reveal.
I
But
agree.
so
So
Dallas,
what were the two games that we both dropped?
Dallas does not gain a lead. It's still a 2-game lead coming down at the final
Three-game.
week.
Is it 3 or 2?
Three
Three.
game. Yes, you're right. It's
3 game.
Last week Dallas had 1 game.
I gotta clutch up.
So, but going into last week, like we said, a lot of people are sitting their starters, a lot of question marks, going to be a lot of upsets. I feel like you never know going into this last week. So, Colin's definitely it sucks he goes first, as Mandela's could just rob him. But I think if we, I think
we're
we
gonna
could,
pick for real.
At
I
least
think-
3 of their picks need to be different.
Yeah.
That needs to be the rule.
like if Colin goes Browns and Dallas like I'm actually going Browns as well, then we know something. But you guys both, both of you picked the exact same teams for every game. So
That's crazy.
That was not planned. So
yeah,
I didn't even catch it in the moment.
Kind of
Yeah.
conspicuous, Dallas.
I know it looks really bad from my end. But this isn't my first 14 win week, so I'll take that.
But yeah, you both got. I'll just go through them all. We all except Donnie picked the Steelers. Chiefs obviously got the win, so Donnie started off with a good week, and then everybody except me picked the Ravens. So
I could have sworn I picked the Texans.
I wrote on Ravens, so you might have, but I wouldn't argue that, Colin, because you need a game lead.
I
Roll the
think you
tape,
did
roll
pick
the tape.
Texans.
Actually, you did. All right, Dallas won last week.
Seahawks. Everybody picked the Seahawks except Donnie. So it was 3 versus 1. I took I lone wolf the Patriots, and they got clobbered. That was
Yeah, a
just
little bit.
ugly.
That was kind of rough.
Me, Dallas, and Colin picked the Bengals. Donnie picked the Broncos. The Broncos lost. I was the only one to
That
pick
was
the
an
card.
amazing game, though. That
It
was
was
Crazy
great.
game. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
we could touch on how just wild that game was, like the ending and it just being insane.
If the Bengals had a kicker, man, wouldn't
I
have been
was-
a question.
I was the only one to pick the Cardinals. The Cardinals obviously lost. You guys all picked the Rams. We all picked the Eagles. I lone wolf Carolina. They also lost. We all picked Buffalo. They won. We all picked the Colts. They
Lost?
won.
Oh, did they? I forgot.
Oh wait, no, the Giants won.
Yeah, I was about to say the Giants won.
All right, well, knock us all down one game because I think I just was reading that and I definitely didn't. I just wouldn't ever picture the Giants to win.
We literally shit on that man, Brendan, all day Sunday because of the
That's
Colts
true.
lost.
I don't know why. You look at it, Indy Giants. Oh yeah, Giants lost.
Dude.
I think That's probably. Oh, your brother's probably going crazy.
They were going crazy because they were pissed that the Giants fucking won a game and knocked them all the way down to the
everybody
fourth.
was.
I was about to say, didn't you see the stadium? They were pissed when Malik Tabers took off
Did you
that
guys
60-yard
see,
touchdown.
John Gruden and Dave Portnoy do that like Sunday night recap, and a Giants fan called in, and this man went out. It was a 2-minute clip. This man went on for 1:30, just pissed off everything. He was fucking calling out like Roger Goodell, people who weren't even related to the game. He fucking
My neighbor Steve, fuck him too.
Giants fans are fucking pissed.
They're wild. So knock us all down a game, but it doesn't change the standings at all. So everyone's still got the same because we all picked the Colts. We all picked the Raiders, and they got the dub. I lone wolf the Jaguars, and they got the win. And then we all picked Miami. We all picked. No, it was tie. It was 2-2. Dallas and Colin picked Green Bay, and then me and Donnie picked Minnesota. I was the only one to pick Atlanta, and then we all picked Detroit. So, it was. Mostly we kind of all went with the same thing. No really changes, but it's gonna come down to the last week. Donnie has now kind of given himself third place. Basically, I think I just kind of sealed my last place victory there. And then you guys will be fighting for first place. Dallas has got a comfortable lead, but like I said, you never know.
I feel like with such a weird week, I mean, it could happen.
We just found out the Eagles.
I just got to get lucky.
The Giants want to fuck around and win another game.
Yeah.
The Giants fans kill themselves.
What's the difference between me and Colin? Second and third.
Like 10 games, I think.
I got it.
I think it's like 8 games probably.
I'd
have to have a really bad week for you.
How far ahead am I? How far ahead of you am I, Marshall?
You were.
I was gonna say it's pretty.
You were 4, and then after this week we have a 4-game difference, so about 8.
Okay, so I'm just gonna pick everything opposite of Colin to see if I can steal second place.
Okay,
but we have a lot. Like I said, we have a lot of games where it's just like we have
2-14 week incoming.
Marshall actually somehow stole third place.
Every if you be the first team to go 0-16, none of us have gone 0-16. I don't think if any of us went perfect as well.
No. Marshall means
Dallas was close. Dallas was.
I would say he had a 1-loss week.
He had a 15-1, I believe.
Marshall means you're pretty much out of it. You should try to go completely winless this week. See if you can get it done.
Nah.
Nobody wants that crown.
I don't want that
honestly, that'd be kind of impressive if you go over 16. Like,
if you manage to.
I don't think anything will be. I think 16-0 will be the most impressive. I don't think anything will be more impressive. We haven't seen anything in a while. Dallas's 15-1 was probably second to Donnie saying, I think the Dolphins are going to win. They're going to probably fuck around and go for like 70, and then they dropped exactly 70 on the Broncos last year.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy.
You can't recreate that. That's insane. But yeah, so those were the picks. Obviously, going into the last week, a lot happened in this week. Week 17, like we said, Broncos Bengals on Saturday night was one for the ages. Like at first, it just kind of was a slow start to the game, and then all of a sudden it started going crazy. And
yeah, we're skipping over the real barn burner of the week though. Seahawks at Bears.
Oh,
we got to talk about that
okay
before we can get there.
That's that game was great. It's solid. What was it? 6-3.
It was 6-3. Was the final score.
I love how I believe it was the Thursday game previous. It was Rams Niners when that game. There was no touchdown score, but it was like 12-6 or whatever. And it's like, man, that's the worst primetime game we've ever seen. Little did we know we had to wait 1 full week, and we got the.
It was 2 weeks, but yeah.
I watched.
That one was much worse.
Yeah, that one was wild. But yeah, the Broncos, Bengals, Bengals are trying to keep their playoffs hopes alive. All that needs to happen this final week is the Broncos have to lose to the Chiefs, who have their backups. But in that scenario, you never know what could happen. And then the Bengals have to win. Obviously, they have to beat the Steelers on Saturday night. And then the Dolphins have to lose to the Jets, which is brutal. But
it's kind of 50-50. You never know what kind of Jets you're gonna get.
You never know. I'm starting to picture. Does everyone remember 2017 when The Ravens beat the Bengals, and all the Bills players were sitting in the locker room, and they had the cameras on them, and the Ravens won. And I feel that coming. But I talked to Donnie about this to see who he'd root for. If the Bengals did sneak into the playoffs, round 1 would be the 2-seed Bills versus the 7-seed Bengals. That might be a 63-54 game. Like, honestly, like, the Broncos are a good team. If we're being real, though, I feel like people would rather see the Bengals in the playoffs. Just they're shooters.
Oh shit! Everybody would rather see the Bengals in the playoffs.
They're an entertaining team. They're shooter. Who doesn't want to see Burrow and Chase go crazy? Like, it's like Jamar Chase is amazing. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league, and Pat Surtain's the reigning about to be defensive player of the year, and Chase still got, I believe, 70 yards on him. So it's insane that Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow connection. But in that game, obviously, we thought the game was kind of wrapped up, and then 4th down, Bo Nix launches it up, and
Bo Nix is a dog.
Was it Cortland Sutton? No. Was it anybody
Mims.
else? Marvin Mims goes up for it in double coverage and just comes down with it, which was wild.
Crazy catch.
And it was a wild catch.
But it was a dot.
And then Bo Nix.
It was crazy how accurate that throw was on the run.
Yeah, you couldn't have been any more perfect. And then obviously T. Higgins, 3 touchdowns, 40 fantasy points. Sorry to anyone that played against him. Darnell's fantasy championship.
I told everybody I was in 2 championship games this weekend, and that was one of them. And I was at a 48% chance going into the second game on Sunday or Saturday, and it went down to a 2% chance. I have never had a championship end.
All right.
Speaking of end.
Bad Wi-Fi.
Oh, man, that shitter-net.
Oh, he's back.
There we go.
Pop back into frame.
I don't know what's going on.
Your internet cut out.
Oh, man.
We'll move on. We'll touch on a couple of things. I think we could talk about it a little bit. We can all voice our opinions. We've seen Saquon talk about it. We saw Nick Sirianni talk about it. It sounds like that Saquon will be rested for this final game against the Giants, 100 yards away from Eric Dickerson's record. And obviously, if he got the record, it's one more game, but everybody was talking about that Eric Dickerson, I believe, has 37 more carries than Saquon right now. There's no way Saquon would need 37 carries to get to 100 yards. So he'd have done it in less carries than Eric Dickerson did it. So in retrospect, the one more game played doesn't matter in that aspect. See, back then when I was battling, Cooper Kupp had the extra game, he had like 40 extra receptions on top of it. And it's like, okay, there's that. But this man Saquon's doing it in one more game, but all those less attempts. So it wouldn't have. You can't put a hyphen there, but it sounds like he's not even going to get the shot. I am, in my eyes, I mean, Saquon came out to the media and said, it is what it is. I understand, winning games it is. And he sounded like he is okay with it, but you could tell he definitely wants it. His family, he said his family really wants him to get it. I think I get resting guys. I think you give that man the first half.
It sucks that he's 100 yards away, because if he was 25, I'm like, put him in until he gets the record and then pull him the rest of the game.
Yeah. It's the fact that it's 100.
I still think you put him in for the first half. If he doesn't get it after the first half, you can't. That means if you give him 20 touches and he doesn't get it, it means that obviously, it probably isn't meant to be. Maybe. But
also, you got to give him load management. You can't afford to be giving him 20 touches this week.
Yeah.
You got to make sure he's fine for the playoffs.
Well, give him a shot, because damn well, Saquon, all he needs is one. Saquon's breaking, and Giants too. He might 3 carries, bro might get it. Bro might first play of the game.
But if I'm the Giants, I'm putting 10 in the box.
Man,
you ain't
doing everything over the top.
That's what my thought was with you saying just in the first half. First half, they are putting 10 in the box. They're running engage 8. They don't give a fuck. You can't let them in.
Here's the problem. It's the Giants. I still think he'd find a way around it.
True.
Well, the Giants have a decent D-line. Giants have a decent D-line.
Their D-line's decent, but the rest of the defense is awful. So
yeah, but if you got 3 people grabbing at you, eventually you're going to fall down.
You would think.
Logically.
I don't know. My thought on the Saquon situation. I didn't see his media, so I don't know how his quote was. All I saw was Nick Sirianni talk about it. And if Saquon doesn't if it was his decision, that's fine. If it was Nick Sirianni's decision, I think that's bullshit. I honestly, if I was in that scenario, I would kind of say fuck the rest. This record will never be touched again. I don't think it's. We talk about we don't know if we're going to see another 2,000-yard rusher, but so Saquon doing that alone is impressive.
I'm sorry, but Amir Abdullah is still playing football.
Okay, shut the fuck. No, and to be that close to Eric Dickerson, especially with the carries we're talking about, it's man. And a big thing too is running backs. A lot of positions, it's okay, you need a ring to really cement your legacy. Running backs don't really need rings. If you look at all the top tier running backs in NFL history, only a couple of guys have rings. It's kind of like wide receivers. You don't need it. Does it help? Obviously, but you don't need it. If Saquon would have hit this record, I think that would have meant more to his career and his legacy than if the Eagles go and win a Super Bowl this year. Because it's just running backs. It's so much more about individual awards or individual achievements. So I'm honestly really
upset. It's that way for any position outside of quarterback, honestly.
I mean, yeah, kind of, but I don't know. I'm really.
I see what you're saying though.
Not only for him, but I felt this was really the year of the running back. Running backs have kind of been devalued over the last decade.
Definitely.
So you're talking if we talk about Genty or not. Genty just did what he did in college, which however you feel about it, it's impressive. It's a record that Barry had for fucking what?
Into that.
30 some odd years.
I don't feel like arguing with Dallas today because he's gonna lock in with his opinion.
I'm saying regardless of how you feel, it's impressive. That's a lot of rushing yards. So that's a big thing. Cam Scatterbo, who we just saw earlier today, he went insane. He's a person people talk about. Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, and Saquon all going to different teams and having career resurgence and kind of showing that running backs still matter. I think if Saquon would have went out and broke this record, I think it would have done so much for running backs going forward. Guys coming off, guys going into free agency, guys coming in the draft, where it's I just feel he kind of owed it to go for it. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I agree with you.
Maybe that's thinking too big picture, but I'm very upset that they're not at least letting him try.
So a little bit of, not to steal Dallas's thunder, but a little bit of Donnie said something that kind of intrigued me. I was curious. So a little bit of trivia, real quick.
I see.
There have been nine rushers to rush for 2,000 yards. How many of those rushers, and can you name them, have a Super Bowl ring? So
Terrell Davis, I know.
He's one of the 9 rushers that does have a Super Bowl ring. There's one more guy.
Marshall Falk.
Nope, he didn't.
Marshall Falk never got 2K.
OJ, I'll tell you guys who rushed for 2K. OJ Simpson, Eric Dickerson, Barry Sanders, definitely didn't.
RP.
Jamal Lewis, Chris Johnson, Adrian Peterson, Derrick Henry, and Saquon Barkley.
Well, it's not AP.
Nope.
Is it? Did you say Jamal Lewis? Is that who it is?
It was Jamal Lewis.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
There's the only 2 guys.
Wasn't he on the Raven? He got
on the Ravens. He was on that first Ravens Super Bowl team.
I didn't see that. What I saw was somebody was talking about the top 10 running backs of the decade or whatever they did, or not of the decade, but in NFL history, when they did the top 100 players for the 100-year anniversary of the NFL. His was out of the top 10 running backs they listed, only I think 2 guys had rings, and it was Emmitt Smith and I think it was Walter Payton. I think Walter Payton was on there.
Jim Brown. Oh, Jim Brown's got.
And Walter Payton was a shell of himself when he won that ring, and Emmitt Smith was on a stacked team. So it's running backs. Team success for running backs, I'd say, is the least important of any position.
And then before we move on, I just a little out of all 9 rushers, the best, because obviously average yards per carry is one thing I think is most important stat because it shows if he's being force fed or not. Mm-hmm. The biggest yards per carry average was Barry Sanders at 6.1 yards per carry. Lowest was Terrell Davis at 5.1.
He's still crazy.
5.1 is crazy.
Now that's crazy.
Well, I mean, if you're rushing for 2,000 yards, unless you're getting carries every single game, like you're playing for fucking Army, like you gotta average a shit ton of yards.
That's pretty much what it is for almost all those guys.
OJ
like,
Simpson,
you're not an offense that is committed to the run. You're not coming close.
OJ Simpson averaged 6 yards a carry. Eric Dickerson averaged 5.6. Barry 6.1. Terrell Davis 5.1. Jamal Lewis 5.3. Chris Johnson 5.6. Adrian Peterson 6 yards a carry. Derrick Henry 5.4. Saquon right now is at 5.9.
I wish OJ would have played 16 games because I want to see what that record would have been.
OJ has the most impressive of all those records. To do it in 14 games is fucking absurd.
It is. But yeah. So moving on, we'll touch on obviously one of the bigger things of there was one more thing I wanted to. I totally got sidetracked by the 2,000-yard rusher. So obviously the Commanders-Falcons game, Sunday Night Football, everyone thought was like, oh, this is going to be probably not a great game, but Michael Penix is slowly looking pretty decent, I would say. Turned out to be a really good game, and Jayden Daniels, man, he was impressive as hell. Man, he looks so good.
They scare me a little bit.
Jayden Daniels in the NFC kind of scares me. I'm not.
He does. He has been so on one, and he's one of those guys that he's just a likable guy. Like I've
been a believer in Jayden Daniels from day one. Man. I've loved him for so long.
He just seems like a super nice, a genuine guy. But man, his dual threat ability is literally like the next Lamar is what it seems like.
I was gonna say, if you watch him, because I haven't watched much of him, admittedly, other than like the highlight clips and shit. But I watched a good amount of that game, and I say he's so scary because like when Lamar first came in, like I think we can all attest, Lamar couldn't throw the ball for shit. Like he was a great runner, obviously, but like he did not have the arm he has now, and he slowly developed into having like now he's a pretty good passer. He's still not like amazing, but he's good enough where he's gonna fucking cook you if you let him. Mm-hmm. And the thing with Jayden Daniels is he runs like Lamar, but like he also is much more polished as a passer already. So it's like if he takes the leaps that Lamar took year by year, like 4 years from now, he could be just like,
and especially as a rookie, like I would say, like rookie Lamar, like rookie Jayden is a lot better than rookie Lamar.
Rookie Lamar literally couldn't throw the ball. Do you remember the Chargers game where they just stacked 10 in the box in the playoff?
Oh yeah,
and he couldn't do shit. So
well, rookie like Lamar now, obviously, he's got 42 touchdowns, 3 interceptions on the season. Like Lamar now is one of the top passers in the NFL. But the thing I think with Jayden Daniels the most that has impressed me is he's very safe with his passes. Honestly, I like Dan Quinn. I think Dan Quinn's a great head coach. When he was on, I feel like he was the one thing that was holding that Cowboys team what they were at. His defenses were great. And now as a head coach, he's doing very well. It's just how safe he is. He throws every ball he throws is exactly where it needs to be for the wide receiver. He's not no Aaron Rodgers or Peyton Manning or anything like that. He just does what he needs to do as a passer, but don't let that man get loose because he's going to go for as much as he wants on his feet. But then he's also got guys like Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, who's injured now, Terry McLaurin. He's got a lot of playmakers on his team. So this Commanders team is scary to have in the NFC. The NFC just gets harder and harder every single year. We're getting so many good guys. And now Michael Penix, I'm not going far with Michael Penix, but he's looked good. And so we'll see what he does in the NFC. But
Daniel, to finish up on Daniel, if he wouldn't have had that rib injury that really affected him for like that month and a half, 2 months, where like he was playing down. If he wouldn't have had that, he would be like a legit MVP candidate, which is crazy because we said that about CJ Stroud, but I think it was a little bit too much benefit last year. But like Jayden Daniels would have like really earned it this year if he would have kept up through 16 games. What he's been doing.
And then like this will go into a next thing. Obviously, you look at the top quarterbacks in the NFL. It's funny because most of them are in the AFC. Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Burrow. But I think you get those guys and it's like drops. Like there's more guys I'm missing. Don't get me wrong. But it drops. Like there are the bad teams in the AFC. Bad teams. And it's slowly getting better. But the NFC is just getting more and more stacked. Guys that you didn't think were going to perform well are just performing. Sam Darnold, Baker. Like we've been seeing all week how both those guys were on the Panthers at the same
I've
time.
been waiting all year for Sam Darnold's Linsanity run to get over, and it just keeps going. Man.
I don't think it's getting over.
I don't understand.
I've been seeing
once we beat them.
I've been seeing odds of where JJ McCarthy is going to get traded to.
He's,
like,
Sam Darnold is going to walk in free agency, and Daniel Jones is going to come in and take over for him and go crazy.
I don't know. That's a little crazy.
No, I think Kevin O'Connell's that good where Daniel Jones could look like fucking.
True. I think a lot
Prime
of
Brady.
Sam Darnold is the one where I think his system is just so perfect that it's hard for him to kind of fail. But I still do think he's a decent quarterback. Baker, I believe in a lot more. I think if you put both of them side by side, Baker is probably the better quarterback. Like I think there's no question. I think Baker's on less of a team. Todd Bowles is a great guy, and the Bucs are a really good team, but Kevin O'Connell is that guy. And so, but Baker, I know it's against the Panthers, but 5 touchdown day versus the Panthers, slinging it. It's just, man, he is balling out on the Bucs. So the Panthers need to just take a look at their organization and realize they had both these guys on the squad at the same exact time. I saw a picture the other day of when they had Baker Mayfield lining up at D tackle.
Yeah, that was fucking crazy.
So
the fact that within 3 years that man went from scout team DN to one of the upper best quarterbacks.
Dude, that's how Daniel Jones' story is starting, man.
Yeah,
Giants had him at fucking scout team defensive end.
They
put him at safety at one point.
I think if Daniel Jones stays on the Vikings, I could see that kind of run. But if he goes anywhere else, that run ain't happening.
It's just those teams where you just got to put your player in a position to succeed. And the Giants, Panthers, they're not going to do that. And honestly, if this was the same old Bob Quinn Lions, Jared Goff would have been out of Detroit by now. But Brad Holmes is a guy, and Dan Campbell, they know how to Ben Johnson, they know what they need to put around Jared Goff to make him succeed. And that's why Jared Goff has done so well. If these other teams, once they get that guy, that GM, that coach, the one team I think is the Giants. I'm a Daboll fan. I think Daboll's a good coach, and I think honestly he's probably going to get canned. And then he's going to do exactly what Dan Quinn did. He's going to go be a coordinator in another team, absolutely be amazing, and then he's going to get put into a good situation like Dan Quinn did on the Commanders.
Brian Daboll as OC to replace Ben for us would be amazing.
I'd be so down for that.
Brian Daboll, OC, Mike.
It's extremely likely too. Like that's not even.
Let's go.
Let's go. Never count out.
Could you
Mike
imagine?
Vrabel is not going to be our DC.
Could you imagine though, Brian Daboll and Mike Vrabel. We might actually go 17-0. Dan might be out of a job.
If that was our coordinator room, we would have the worst season in history because nothing would get done schematically because Brian Daboll, Mike Vrabel, and Dan Campbell would be fucking arm wrestling 24/7.
Oh my god!
Figure out who's the top dog.
If they become our coordinators, if we don't get a Hard Knocks, we riot because that would be the best Hard Knocks ever.
God.
I was gonna say, do like
all three of them doing burpees.
Mike Vrabel and Brian Daboll and Dan Campbell.
Mike Vrabel versus Dan Campbell just trying to alpha each other would be the best thing of all time.
They'd be like, that was a good hit. Yeah, they'd start punching each other's players like, bro, not again.
It would be the first time we ever see an Oklahoma drill between two coaches.
Line it up. Well, what are we doing here? And then fucking just Dan and Mike Vrabel line it up. It literally is tight end versus linebacker. Those are guys that are supposed to guard each other.
That shit would be crazy.
They would fucking go toe to toe. You'd see they come out on game day with bandages all over each other, wrapped up. You'd see Dan Campbell and Mike Vrabel both on the injury report. But yeah, going into that was basically. I mean, there's not much else. There was a lot of rough games. Me and Donnie hung out for the 1:00 games, and those games were rough.
That was the worst 1:00 slate in history. If the Colts wouldn't have dropped that game to the Giants, we'd have nothing to talk about because that shit was awful.
For the 1:00 slate, it was all just rough games. Vikings can't get it. The Packers can't get it done against the Vikings to help the Lions. Packers just give us another reason to not like them.
I hate Jordan Love.
I am officially out on Jordan Love, by the way.
What took you so long?
Welcome to the team, Calvin.
Dude, I wanted to give him credit. I genuinely thought maybe you guys just hated him so much because he was a Packer. He's actually not good.
Awful.
Against any team with like a real defense. He is awful.
So I don't know.
I know good defenses are going to make plays. He had open shots all night the other day. The Vikings actually did not play a great game defensively. And he was missing them all night.
like that's what me and Marshall said in the group chat, is we didn't like Aaron Rodgers, but that was because Aaron Rodgers was good and he just beat us all the time and it was fucking aggravating to watch. Now that he's left, it's like, okay, I don't hate Aaron. We hate Jordan Love because he's not good, but he is treated like he is.
We're 4-0 against Jordan Love.
I think you would love Jordan Love if him being ass. You'd like, yes, keep paying this man. I
hope he's on the Packers forever.
I was about to say, Donnie did say that when he got that contract. Donnie celebrated.
I saw in the media not that long ago, like literally within the month, that somebody said Jordan Love is the best quarterback in the NFC. That people think that is fucking absurd.
Yeah. That is like a 12-year-old.
Donnie, I was gonna send this to you.
It was a grown man on a fucking Fox.
Donnie, I was gonna send this to you because this is the one person I did not think, but also agrees with us. Richard Sherman was on his podcast talking, and he 2 years ago stated Jordan Love he did not think was that good of a guy, and he just can't get the big moments done. And I'll send you guys the clip after the podcast. But someone said you should apologize for that clip. Richard goes, "No, I'm going to double down on it. I don't think," and Richard said this literally last week. He goes, "I don't think Jordan Love can win against the big teams in the big moments. That last half of that last year's season, he played easy teams, and his team around him played good." Richard Sherman literally was like, "I don't know. He might in the future." Obviously, he's got to say people in the future are going to be good because a lot of media guys you don't hear come out and just bash people unless it's Skip Bayless. But he basically said, "I'm not giving this man any credit because I actually don't think he can do it in the big situations."
I know you guys will remember the name, not Steve Mariucci.
Richard Sherman knows ball.
God, what's his fucking name?
Who would have thought?
Is it Martinelli, the one that coached with Bill, who went to the Jets? This was in the early 2000s. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's on one of the shows I watch, and whenever they talk about the Packers, he brings up the Packers' path to success is only letting Jordan Love throw the ball 20-25 times. He's like, when you watch, if you look at their box scores, their path to actually win games is to not let Jordan Love throw the ball too much. And he's like, he just brings up the coaching staff apparently doesn't trust him by the lack of him taking deep shots and shit. Their way to win is just control the ball. Jordan, don't fuck up and run the ball. So I'm glad there's some people in the media that are anti-Jordan Love. Like I said, I'm anti-Jordan Love because he's a Packer. But also, when you watch this man play football, it's just I don't see what people see. Is I guess kind of my point. There's not enough there for me to think he's anything.
Well, moving on to the Monday Night Football game that technically, sadly, because of the Packers, didn't mean anything, but it was pride. It felt good for Lions fans going to San Francisco.
This was the first time honestly, they won in San Francisco since the 70s. I totally forgot about that.
And honestly, we wanted
I think Jared Goff was only 1-5 or something against the Niners too. He didn't have a good.
We wanted this game. Everyone wanted this game really bad just because of what happened last year. But then Fred Warner's pregame speech was just
my God.
There was obviously there's
home limping.
Every team, no matter what, it's always good to have a pregame speech. Always. Even if you're a 3-win team, you have a pregame speech. But to bash the other team in your pregame speech and call it and oh, you're gonna blah 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 do this, you ain't shit. It's okay. I'm all for Fred Warner sitting in that huddle being let's go out there today, play some hardball. Let's fight the season. I know the season's over, but let's fight hard. Let's keep playing until the end of the year, and let's move on to next year. That's a pregame speech. Bro just started to shit talk the Lions. It's okay, bro, you have no place to talk right now. And it showed. I think after we saw that, we just wanted to go out there and whoop ass, and that's what happened.
Yeah, bro talked way too much shit for a team that had literally half as many wins going into that game as the other team. I don't know who the fuck he thought he was talking to.
I said, regular pregame speeches, no matter how many wins you have, you need to hype up your team. But hyping up your team while talking shit.
There's different pregame speeches, though. There's different, there's a pregame
and the speech limping, too. The limping was wild.
There's pregame speeches where you're the better team and it's all right, let's go bury these motherfuckers. We're better than them. Let's go prove it. There's a one where if you're not as good and you're hey, let's go surprise the world. Let's go show these motherfuckers what's up. The fact that he gave the we're better than them, let's go show it as they're the bottom team is what really was.
And the limping got me. I was oh, this motherfucker.
I don't think he knew what the fuck the records and shit were going into that game.
He ain't get a pregame. They need Jameis Winston for their pregame speeches. That's the best. He's the best pregame speech man of all time. But obviously, we wanted that really bad, and it looked scary at first. It just our defense was just. I mean, and we're away. The defense is rusty. It just didn't look too good at first. And the Niners do have a lot of pieces on their offense, and it's a lot of it. I think is. I've always been a big guy that's like Kyle Shanahan is a good coach, and it's one of that Shanahan family. I think that's a lot of the reason that offense and that team is always going to stay competitive. So yeah, our defense is rough, and it has a lot to do with that. But I also think it is just the way they run their offense, and I don't like really any of the Niners players, but that Ricky Parcells guy. He kind of I knew about him because of what he him being shot and his comeback. But
I totally had forgotten about that until I saw someone after be like,
I don't think he's had
that man got shot in the chest this summer.
He got a couple touchdowns early in the year, and he's had some good games, but that was his best game. And I was like, he looks like a good guy, and he was the one guy I was like, this guy's actually not bad. Juwan Jennings is public enemy number 1 in Detroit.
Yep.
Up until we play the Vikings. Not only is bro a bitch, just let me get that out of the way, but literally the play where Terry on him, he's blocking him. Okay, you're out of the end zone. Stop blocking. He keeps blocking him. He blocks him into the dirt, and then he proceeds to shove his helmet on the ground. It's like, well, honestly, you were that close to getting ejected from the game.
I don't even care. I don't even care about him bringing him to the ground because you play through the whistle. Whistle hadn't blown yet by the time he brought him to the ground. But the shove at the end was totally unnecessary. And that's why Kirby stepped in and shoved him.
Kirby is don't play that shit. Kirby always stands on business.
We
comes over.
Kirby too.
What aggravated me is I love blocking through the whistle and fucking going hard like that. But as a wide receiver, bro, you're on the outside too. Give him a good block, but you don't have to take him to the fucking barricade. You're just that's just it. That is literally.
I did hear that they had a little exchange the play before it.
I
they
think
had a little exchange. They were probably chirping back.
I think that is.
Jared Arnold did not go that hard at him. It was.
That's his fault.
No, I think that is all just anger of being a 6-win team. I think that's literally all that is. His bro is angry that they have 6 wins. That's what it is.
Mad on that
but
play.
Not only in the end, Juwan Jennings was like, "Oh, this man stands on business." But then Kirby pushed him. Was like, "Okay." Terrion Arnold, as petty as it looked, Terrion Arnold standing up and lightly just slapped that man across the helmet while he was in the bleachers. That was so funny to me. Just the way
I'm surprised
stood up and went. He slapped him
I'm
like that.
surprised
And
that
helmet
didn't get
went
a flag.
Like that. I was like, I
didn't even notice that.
I heard he got fined a couple thousand. I heard he got.
Okay.
Go watch the playback. Literally right there at the end. He just slaps him across the face. It was so small, but so funny and just so petty. I loved it. Okay. But Kirby
Joseph
stood on business not only on that play, but this man owns the Niners. This man owns primetime. And funny enough, a clip got brought up, and it was the clip of who do you want revenge on, or who do you want to beat the most this season? And it was on the Lions TikTok in August. And everyone picked one team, but Kirby's a character on and off the field. He's a great guy in the locker room. Everyone says he's one of the best guys to be around the locker room. Kirby was going through the entire bucket, and bro said, Kirby was like, "Yep, definitely the Packers. You got to pick against the Packers." He lifted up 4 teams, and all 4 teams he lifted up, he got to pick against. So bro really started that. And then the 49ers one was the funniest one because he's like, "Hey,
buddy."
Well,
say it like that.
He said,
"Nah, we're just glad you're back." I just was explaining. We finished up our 49ers Detroit talk. What we're gonna do this week. A lot of these games are meaningless, except obviously one. So we are going to do the speed, go through all of them because a lot of them are pointless. But we are going to obviously save the Detroit-Minnesota game because we're just going to, I swear, we'll probably talk about that for a good 20 minutes and a lot of what's going to happen and what we need to do. Obviously, Anzalone, we'll talk about that. But we were going through that. So, Colin, I'll let you finish.
All right. Do you need me to repeat any of them?
Nope, you're good.
Okay. I think I left off at Texans-Titans.
Yes, sir.
Give me the Texans. Giants-Eagles. What? The fuck is your problem?
Why are you swearing?
He froze again. He might be gone again.
All right, well, Giants and Eagles. Give me the Eagles.
Oh, he's back. We're good.
Jags,
fucking
Jags,
crash the fuck out.
Jags at Colts. Give me the Colts. Commanders, Cowboys. Give me the Commanders. Bears, Packers. Give me the Packers. Saints, Bucks. Give me the Bucks. Bills, Patriots. One seed's already locked up in the
Colin.
Huh?
Gotta
Yes.
pick up those 3 games somehow.
The one seed's already locked up in the AFC, right?
Yep.
So the Bills aren't really playing for anything this week.
Yep.
Yeah, give me the Patriots. Chargers at Raiders. Give me the Chargers. Niners at Cardinals. Ooh. Give me the Cardinals. Chiefs, Broncos. Give me the Broncos.
Ooh.
Seahawks at Rams. Give me the Rams. Dolphins, Jets. Give me the Dolphins.
All right. Dallas, real quick before you go into yours.
Yep.
Donnie, check your phone and watch Terry Arnold at the end of this clip. This is what I was talking about. I want to see your reaction. I'll just send it. I guess I'll just send it to the group as well. I know you guys probably saw it, but shit's funny. Just watch Terry Arnold right at the end of the little slap he gives him while he's down. Like the most petty bitch. The way he just slapped him right across the face.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
I didn't even notice that when it happened.
That shit's wild.
Yeah, he's lucky he didn't get.
I
flagged
laughed
for
so
that,
hard
too.
at that. It's just
That was funny as fuck.
just how little effort and just the way his helmet moved while he did it.
Well, I think he wanted to go hard at bro, but then he realized like he's laying in the bleachers and he's like shoved up, and he like would have to punch over, so he's just kind of like.
Mhm.
Yeah, he did that. That's funny.
That was funny.
All right, Dallas, whenever you are ready.
All right. Last week of the season, man, that's crazy to say.
Mm.
Browns versus the Ravens. Give me the Ravens. Bengals versus the Steelers. Give me the Bengals. Falcons, Panthers. Give me the Falcons. Texans, Titans. Give me the Texans. Eagles, Giants. Give me the Eagles. Colts, Jags. Give me the Jags. Cowboys, Commanders. Give me the Commanders. Bears, Packers. Give me the Packers. Bucks, Saints. Give me the Bucks. I'm mad, Colin. I was going to pick the Patriots. I genuinely was gonna pick the Patriots. You could watch it back, and I made a face. I'm gonna pick the Patriots over the Bills. Chargers, Raiders. Give me the Chargers. 49ers, Cardinals. Give me the Cardinals. Chiefs, Broncos. I'm also going Broncos. Seahawks, Rams. I'm going to go Seahawks. Dolphins, Jets. Give me the Jets. I believe we have more,
I was
three
gonna
or
say, that's
more.
our 3-game
So,
difference. There you go.
Depending on what you guys pick this last game.
Watch it be a game that was like
Depending on what you guys pick for these last games, I don't know what you guys are gonna do, but Colin did go Miami. Dallas went with the Jets. Colin went Rams. Dallas went Seahawks. And then you guys picked indifferent between the Jags and Colts as well. So there are 3 games. So if there's a tie, then it's got to go into overtime in the playoffs. So
All right.
'cause we kept playoffs separate from last year. But all right, I will go with my picks. Browns, Ravens. I'm going to go with the Ravens. Bengals, Steelers. I'm going to go with the Bengals. Panthers, Atlanta. I'll go with. I'm gonna go with Atlanta. Houston, Tennessee. I'm gonna go with Houston. Philly, the Giants. I'm gonna go with the Giants.
There you go.
Just
Just for the memes.
Just to fuck it up again. Jags, Colts. I'm gonna go Colts.
I think my brothers might crash out if the Giants beat the Eagles this week.
I think the
I know Eagles are going to be sitting.
I think
like
the
everybody,
city
but, like,
New
come
York
on.
would blow up if the Giants win again. Washington, Dallas. I'm gonna go Washington. Green Bay, Bears. I'm gonna go Green Bay. Bucks, New Orleans. I'm gonna go Bucks. Patriots, Bills. I'm going to go the Bills. Chargers, Raiders. I'm going to go Chargers. Cardinals, 49ers. I'm going to go with the 49ers. Chiefs, Broncos. Give me the Broncos. Seahawks, Rams. I'm going to go with the Rams. They're fighting for seeding. So, and then Jets, Miami. I'm going to go with the Jets.
I thought the Rams were locked in.
Rams are locked in.
There, but they're fighting for 3 and 4 seed. Is what I like.
They're actually not fighting for the 3 or 4 seed.
Well,
Jimmy G's starting. They're resting everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I literally was just reading that if they lose and the Bucks win, they lose the 3rd seed. They go 4 seed.
Well, that's the only way they can lose seeding, and I think they're more.
I know that, but like, hey, I mean, you'd rather have the better seed. So I figure, I mean, I guess if they are resting people, it is what it is. But I mean, if they lose, then they drop from 3rd seed to 4th seed, which means you have to play the Vikings or Lions. So in that sense, sometimes I don't know if you'd want to do that. That's why I kind of figured that they wouldn't rest anybody. But hey, you do each their own. So Donnie, you are up. We are picking every game, obviously, except the Vikings Detroit, because that'll have its own little segment.
All right. Gonna go ahead and I'll start off. I think the Ravens get it done against the Browns. I'm gonna pick the Steelers over the Bengals. Then I'm gonna have Texans over the Titans. Falcons over the Panthers. Bucks over the Saints. I also have the Patriots beating the Bills. I'm gonna go with the Jags over the Colts after fucking what they did against the Giants last week. Commanders over the Cowboys. I'm gonna go with the Giants to beat the Eagles and fuck up their draft seeding even more. And I got Packers over Bears, obviously. I'm gonna go with Seattle over the Rams just because the Rams are sitting everybody. I am gonna go with the Jets over the Dolphins. I'm going to go with the Chiefs over the Broncos as well. So in the AFC, that final seed, I have all 3 teams that need to win to lose. So the Broncos hold on to that final spot. I got the Raiders over the Chargers. I just don't think the Chargers have anything to really play for. They're pretty locked in as well. I don't know if they're sitting anybody, but
I believe their seeding is locked because they can't get the 2 seed, but they aren't going to drop. Or not, they didn't win the division. They're not going to get the 5th seed, but I don't think they can drop to the 7th.
I don't think they're going to rest anybody, but they don't really have anything to play for. And the Raiders they're on a 2-game win streak, so I see them fucking up their draft position more as well. And then I'm going to go Niners over Cardinals. I think the Cardinals just gave the fuck up last week once they got eliminated, and the Niners are still playing hard, so I will go with although I believe they're starting Josh Dobbs over Brock Purdy, which that might be a problem, but Dobbs
I was about to say that might benefit him, honestly.
I mean, Dobbs looked pretty fucking good, so yeah, that doesn't really change my pick. I will go with the Niners.
Dobbs always has that 1 week a year where he just balls out. It's gonna be week 18 this year.
He's a really good backup. I'll give him that.
He is.
He's a good backup.
He's a good backup. He seems like a genuine guy. But, anyways, the last thing we'll talk about before we roll into trivia, it all comes down to the last regular season game of the year. Arguably the best regular season game of all time, maybe the biggest, one of the most important. It'll be record breaking, and it'll be first time evers. It'll be the first time a 14-win team was in a wild card spot in the 5th seed, which is unbelievable.
I think the previous best was the Titans in I think the late 90s. I think they were a 13-win wild card team.
If you look at 16-year-old me, or you look at any of us from 2018, and your older self tells you, hey, in 2024, that season, you guys are gonna be 14-2 going in the last week, but you're fighting for that wild card spot. I'm gonna think that Aaron Rodgers became invincible. Like I'm gonna think Thanos took over Aaron Rodgers' body, and they're the same person now. Because I won't believe.
No, honestly, what's sad to think is, if you were to say that in 2018, we would think Mitch Trubisky is the greatest quarterback of all time because that was when Mitch was fucking slinging it. So
we will be like, all right, so Mitch turned into the next Tom Brady, but it's unbelievable. This would only happen to the Lions. That we become good, and now we are in one of the best, easily the best division in football. The Packers are going to be a 6 seed at like 12 or 11-6 or 12-5, which is unbelievable. But it all comes down to this. It is in Detroit. We've got good news as of today. Looks like a decent chance that Alex Anzalone is going to be ready to go for this Week 18 game. Which, when you look at it, it's like, we are still missing guys, but Alex Anzalone and Afitu never have not played on the field at the same time. And I was reading some guy said when they're on the field at the same time, they complement each other a lot because both of those guys are in the middle of the field a lot, and both of them can blitz from time to time. They fly. Both of them fly. So this gives Afitu more range to head down in the box and blitz.
And the good news is, like, Anzalone's injury was not like a leg injury or something that he's going to be like rusty coming back from. It was his forearm. He broke his arm. Like,
the only thing he's going to be rusty with would be like tackling because he's in theory he should be conditioning his shit.
He was such a sure tackler though before he got hurt that I don't think
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The thing he could come back and be worst at is maybe his best thing overall. So it's like I'm not.
He was having a Pro Bowl year. Like he was playing really well. He was all over the field all started this season.
I unironically think he is one of the most underrated defensive players in all of football. Like
he's just everywhere.
I remember like his first year in Detroit, I was like, get him out of here. He sucks. And now
I think he's always been solid. Like he's one of those things where he's not going to make your defense by himself, but like with the situation,
he's a good leader for sure.
We're going to go from a bottom 5 defense to a respectable defense with him coming back.
In the draft,
and that might be all they need. They just need to get a couple stops.
That's exactly what they need, actually.
So with him coming back, it just gives that one more person where it's just perfect. It's what we needed in the middle of the field. The pass rush is going to be rough, I think, but that's why I feel like with Alex Anzalone coming back, you can comfortably move.
You can rush
you can move a DB into that box and send him. And honestly, this is scary to say, but it's scary to say. But why not? Like, I think we just see what happens. I don't want Vildor to touch that field on Sunday, and I think everybody else agrees with me. I saw him standing on the sidelines. Emmanuel Mosley is ready to go at any point in time. I'm not saying put him up against Jay Jettas, but I'm saying put that man out there. He was an amazing defensive back, to be fair, 2 years ago, before his injury. But man, he's been. I bet you he wants to get on that field. The more bodies that we have, he's an experienced guy. Put him on that field. Let him see what he can do for a little bit. It's better than Vildor. Obviously, I don't think he should take the spot of Arnold, the guy who's been on the field for a while, or definitely if Iffy, Branch, or Kirby. But man, if it needs to, bring him on the field. But having Alex Anzalone back is huge. It's so big. And I was also reading that Derek Barnes, they're thinking he might, if we get that first round bye, they think Derek Barnes will be ready to go for the playoffs. They think it's almost a certainty that Derek Barnes is ready to go by the divisional round, especially if we get that first round bye.
The Lions are just collecting Infinity Stones on their way to the
Just
Super Bowl right now. As we get back.
It's such a weird
and then
spot
Hutch is going to be the last one, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
if you were to tell me at the beginning of the year, week 15, 16, 17, I would be ecstatic that we get back Jalen's Reed Maven and Derek Barnes. I would look at you like you're a fucking psycho. But the fact that just these second and third string guys coming back is like gonna make real headway.
So Alex Anzalone is coming back this week, and then if we get this first round bye, what I'm reading right here is there are a couple guys that can make their return. Derek Barnes could be back in the divisional round of the playoffs. Carlton Davis, because he broke his jaw, but as a corner, it's like that's another injury that's like, okay, the only reason he had to sit out a little bit is he had to have a small surgery on it. Mm-hmm. He might be back for the divisional round, which he played great football. Football. He was huge. He was playing, especially in that Texans game, he was balling out.
Was it the beginning of the Bills game that he got hurt?
Yes. I tried to find what play he got hurt, but they showed the picture. I mean, the man's mouth, he broke his jaw. I don't know what he did to break his jaw. That is crazy to do with a helmet on. But man, to him, that is what it is.
I've never understood how stuff like that happens.
The jaw, if you're going to hurt your face in any way, it's definitely the jaw with helmet on, because especially corners, if you're tackling at the legs and somebody's leg can kind of come up under.
That's true, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which I in high school, the guy didn't get hurt, but I remember a guy made a tackle, like a shoestring tackle, and his helmet got fucking His helmet got
I can imagine
fucked up.
linemen too, because like even though like it's a penalty, hands to the face happens like basically every single
Yeah,
play.
I feel like that would, I feel like
one
that would be
slip up punching you hard enough in the jaw, like that could.
But
do
they
it.
say
I feel like an eye injury or something could come from that, but yeah.
what I'm reading is that Derek Barnes' chance to come back for the divisional round are a great shot. Carlton Davis is 50-50. They don't know about him yet. I know this is going to get everyone hyped. They think David Montgomery will be ready to go in the divisional round if we can get there. And then Khalif Raymond will also be ready very soon.
Khalif should be back like this week. Like, I didn't know Khalif has put in 4 full practices.
Mm-hmm.
So like I feel like last week they just didn't play him. Like, I think he could have went last.
That was probably a precaution.
Yeah.
So you get him back this week, get Ames Loney. On the broadcast, they said Monty might come back this week, which his stuff has been like very cloudy. Like, he was done for the year.
I will say, I had a teammate who we thought he like tore his shit too. It was the same injury, it was the MCL and everything. We thought he tore his shit based on how he acted, like when it happened. He went and saw a specialist. Turns out it wasn't torn, and he wasn't going to need surgery, or it was like torn to a point where like it could heal on its own, and he just needed like a couple weeks. He went with us to our flag football tournament in Minnesota and played like totally fine. I know that's different than real football, but he was still like running on it. You know what I mean? Like
and as
weeks
we saw,
after tearing it.
I think this was perfect. I think it was perfect representation in the Niners game. What Monty is why we need Monty. Jahmyr Gibbs played amazing, like so good. His speed is unbelievable. And honestly, we thought he was just an outside guy, but he runs in between the tackles amazing. But then that one drive, we got down to 1st and goal at the 5, and Jahmyr Gibbs got 2 runs, nothing. It's those goal line, it's that red zone goal line stuff. You know Monty's getting 4 yards every single play on
Monty. That's kind of what I'm thinking too. Like, Gibbs can't do what Monty does, as much as we love Gibbs. And like, if you bring Monty back, we don't need Monty to touch the ball even 10 times.
Well, we already are. We signed an extension for Monty.
I think he's talking
about for the game. Oh,
yeah,
for the season.
Yeah,
my bad.
No, I'm saying like, if we bring Monty back a little bit earlier than what we should, like, just literally do not let him touch the ball until we get
put him in at the goal line.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like,
goal
line.
I
feel like they need him.
It's weird how I feel about.
I want to see Jefferson too. I think Jefferson could be a good power back for him.
I don't know if it was just our line was playing great, but Craig and Jefferson both look great.
Yeah, they both had really good.
Craig looked all right.
Mm-hmm.
Jamar Jefferson needs to see a couple more touches. I love Craig, but he might. I think Jamar Jefferson could get thrown above him, and I'd be okay with it. But I love Monty to death, and this is like the weirdest thing I think I've ever said. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is running back 1, but I think David Montgomery is more important to the team. It's so weird. That's such a weird thing to say. I just think Monty he's meant for those key situations. I think Gibbs is the better back. He's just, obviously we saw, Gibbs might be faster than J-Mo, and that's like insane to say. But I think just having Monty back, it's just, you just know if it's like 4th and 1, 99% of the time David Montgomery's going to get that football, and guess what? He's probably going to get it. Like, it's just, that's the things Monty does.
He's an attitude setter. That's the thing. Like, that's why he always plays those first drives in games. It's like, Gibbs can do crazy shit, but Monty
we have used them
for our whole line.
And we have used them perfect, because they had said on the broadcast, before Monty's injury, they had 1 touch apart. Monty had 1 touch more than Gibbs through the whole season. Ben is literally, that's what he does. He will make sure they get the same amount of touches, and they're both getting utilized their full potential. That is the one thing Ben Johnson does. But getting back to that, this first round bye is so important to this Lions team. It could be, I think if we can get this first round bye, like I think I don't want to.
The path gets significantly easier.
I don't want to say it, but
get the first round bye.
I see
field
a
advantage the whole
huge
playoffs.
pass to the Super Bowl. I really do.
Yeah, but before you say whatever you're about to say, I saw on a show they were talking about like they show graphics based on this game, like what's gonna winner of this game getting the 1 seed versus a loser. There's been, I think, 6 teams. It was either win or make the Super Bowl as a wild card. It was like the 85 Patriots, the fucking Giants, all those teams. And it was like they all had Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Either guys that are in the Hall of Fame or guys that are going to be in the Hall of Fame, like Eli.
Jared Goff's about to be too.
So it's like the path there is like you got to have a guy. In theory, you have to have a guy to get there. Whereas they
we
showed
go.
number one seeds. They showed number one seeds over the past 50 years, and 26 one seeds have made it in the last 50 years. So in theory, you got a roughly 50-50 shot if you're a one seed versus a handful of teams in post 1970 to be able to do it. So yeah, it's, to say the least, it's fucking big.
And as we talked about it before the pod started, the Lions are wearing the all blacks. The Vikings are wearing the all whites. It is, and this is something you dream of. Like, this is something you dream of in a
I'm
moment.
gonna need to like sleep the whole day, otherwise that anticipation.
Me and Donnie are going to the game. We're going to Topgolf early. We're going to Topgolf early. We're trying to get our mind off things because this is going to be one of the worst Sundays I'm ever going to have up until game time. Like, it's just not going to be fun.
It is truly crazy that it is not hyperbolic to say this is the biggest regular season game of all time. It's fucking crazy.
Obviously, we want to win, but we do need to appreciate the season we're having. No matter what comes out after Sunday, if we do lose, obviously, it'll get overlooked, but 14-2 up until this game is unbelievable. And it's to what Brad, Dan, Ben, Aaron Glenn, what they've done to this team is just unbelievable, especially Brad Holmes, man. And it's crazy. I saw the interview the other day of Sheila that put out when we were 1-6, right before that Packers game that all four of us went to. Sheila put out that interview saying, do not panic. I know things are looking bad, but I feel like we've got the right guys in place. And after that game, I don't think we're up to double-digit losses after that game. We had 5 losses in 2022. We lost 2 more, and we've lost 2 this year. That's 9. So if you include playoffs, I guess that's 10. And that was in 2022. It's crazy to think that we were 1-6 in 2022, finished that year 9-8, 12-5 last year, 14-2. We thought last year was the best we were going to get. We were like, I don't know. It's hard to recreate that.
We all said 10-11 wins this year. I think I said 10, and then I think the most out of all of us was 12. So the fact that we've already beat that shit is...
It's amazing. So and we got to just recognize that first and foremost.
It's funny that you mentioned that Packers game because I'm not trying to say that we deserve a Super Bowl ring.
We do.
The 4 of us if we get there, but the Fourth and Wrong podcast being in attendance did kind of turn the season around.
We're not saying we didn't. We're not saying we turned it around.
If you
but
ever
we're not
hear this,
saying that we had nothing to do with
this,
it.
I mentioned that all the time. I mentioned that all the time.
But, you know.
I mentioned that all the time. We were literally there for the turnaround. That because we went 2-6. Then we went 3-6. Then we went 4-6, and we went 4-7. Blah blah.
And
blah.
we didn't even realize in the moment. We were just like, hell yeah, we just beat the
Packers. That's all we cared about. That's all we cared about.
You know, I've been saving this from you guys, but actually at that game, when I went to go get Joe's one time, I actually met with Dan and just kind of gave him some pointers. And that's really when shit's turned around.
Now you're uninvited.
All right, so that brings us to the final pick of the regular season, Vikings at Lions.
Before that, like not only that, but hey, that was Kirby's debut. That was his Lions debut as a starter. Because remember, we were like, they announcing the team. We were like, who's Kirby Joseph? And then bro did a backflip out of the tunnel. We were like, this guy's sweet. That's all we said. We were like, this guy's awesome.
Then he had 2 picks.
Then he had 2 picks against Rodgers. And we were like, okay, well, this guy might be a guy. Which in that moment, we were like, okay, she's just, who knows what will happen. We're a team. And then he proceeded to own Rodgers at the end of that year. Me and Donnie watched Rodgers' last pass as a Packer was to Kirby. And Kirby got better after that year. Last year, Kirby was even better. And then this year, he's gonna be first team All-Pro. It's insane.
It's something about us playing the Packers that just brings out Lions superstars. Like we've got Kirby, and then TK when he threw that touchdown pass against the Packers.
There it is.
It's crazy.
All right, now can we move into the pick? Now we're talking about Tom Kennedy.
I did want to mention something that Donnie missed when his Wi-Fi took a shit. Kirby did the thing on the Lions TikTok where they had a bowl set up and they said, "Who are you looking forward to beating the most?" And it was this year. And Kirby is a character. Everyone loves him in the locker room and everything, but every player picked one. Kirby stopped at that bowl. And the first team he picked out was like, yep, we're beating these guys. And then he's like, yep, definitely got to beat these guys. It was the Packers. And he pulled out the Cowboys, then the Packers, and then he pulled out the Vikings. The last one he pulled out was the Niners, and he just stared at the screen while he held up the Niners one and just nodded his head. Someone said that he has a combined 6 picks all from those 4 games that he picked out. He has a pick in every single one of those games that he picked out. So it's funny because he'd
If he
like
could get a couple more on Sunday, that'd be pretty sick.
oh, we need him.
Please.
We need him to. Sam Darnold's got to make a mistake. Kirby's gonna be waiting right there over the top for him. But yeah, we'll move into the pick and then we'll go into trivia. But we'll see you guys. Obviously, we'll talk to you guys next week. We're either gonna be really happy. I mean, we're in the playoffs either way, but it is what it is. But this game is the biggest game. This is almost bigger than honestly like our playoff games from last year. Because I think if we win, like you said, I think if we win this game, it's a road to the Super Bowl. So this is just.
I'm worried about whoever wins this game having an emotional letdown. Like this is such a big game.
Good thing we got a week to calm back down.
I guess, but like
they just watch playoff games, literally.
It could be like winning a fucking Super Bowl.
All right, Colin.
Yeah.
What's your pick?
Yeah, last pick of the regular season. This is crazy. Honestly, I think if this game was in Minnesota, like if the games had been reversed this year, I think Vikings win this game, no question. I would not want to play this game in Minnesota. But for that same reason, I think that the Lions are going to pull this out. I think Ford Field is going to be crazy. It's going to be the loudest it's been there ever. And it was loud as shit last year against the Bucs. And I think it's going to be even louder than that. And I think Lions are going to pull out a close one. It's going to be a great game. But Lions on top, locking up the 1 seed, locking up the NFC North. Give me the Lions.
Yes. Woo, big game. I think this game is going to be dictated by how the first 2 drives go by each team. Depending on how those 2 drives go, I think the only way the Lions lose this game, if on our first drive we either don't score or have a turnover, and then the second drive we don't score. So if we go back-to-back drives without scoring, because this Vikings defense is the real deal. Like they're about that life. But I think this offense can score, which we've seen it. We've beat them already this year. I'm afraid that Sam Darnold might carve us up a little bit, but I'm still going with the Lions. I'm going with the Lions. I'm confident enough to go with the Lions.
I did think that they'd come down to the first couple drives, but you look at the first Vikings game we played, we were down 10-0. You look at the Niners game, I thought we'd lost that bitch after the first quarter. And obviously things happen. So it's hard to say. It's going to be weird. If the Vikings get out to an early lead, we'll see what happens. But look at the Houston game. A lot's happened. You know, the Lions are turning into the
Lions. It could be like the Bills game.
It is. It is. And the Bills, you look at the Bills game, but then you look at the Texans, Vikings, Niners, those all started bad for us. So it's hard to say. It's going to be weird, especially, but it being in Ford Field, I told myself, I picked the Lions last week. I told myself if the Lions lost against the 49ers, it would have been too much. We wouldn't have had enough momentum, and we probably would have lost this game. But beating the Niners and hanging 40 points on them, coming back home, all blacks, you get your defensive captain back. I just think we've got it. I just think that's a lot. And I think we're going to get the dub. And I think the Lions lock up the 1 seed. Give me the Lions in a amazing game.
Yeah, I'm struggling with this game. I'm struggling with it, looking at it season-wide versus a vacuum. If you were to ask me earlier, before this came down to the 1 seed, I'd say the Vikings are going to win this game. Just because the Lions have beat everybody in the division. So it's not crazy to split with the other great team in the division this year. And then looking at a game, it's like, well, it doesn't really matter what happened earlier in the season. Like this is as standalone as a regular season game can be, just from the fact of how important it is. Like I think you got to throw everything else out of the window. I think being in Detroit is going to be a pretty big advantage. But I am going to disagree with Dallas on terms of the game script. I think the Lions are going to get punched in the mouth. They did last time against the Vikings. They did against the 49ers. It's been happening. It's happened, 3 times in the last 4 games against the Niners, against the Bills. Like, it's just something that we're going to have to deal with this defense. But I think that offense is good enough to keep us in it with anybody, obviously. And I heard this on TV. Sam Darnold's going to throw you one. You just got to be ready to catch it. Like, Sam Darnold's been playing amazing, and
we know who that guy is.
It's been like a Baker. It's been like a Baker-like story. Like
Kirby
He has a
Joseph
great
to
year.
seal the game, it's gonna happen.
Kirby Joseph steals a game-winning pick, Colin. I'll never make fun of your trivia knowledge ever again. If
Damn,
Kirby
well,
gets
now I
saved
don't.
up,
Damn, well, now I kind of don't want it to happen. I need to brag on
Fuck
Colin
you.
for trivia. But no, I think no matter what, whether we're down 21 in the first quarter, like I think this Lions team can gut out a win. It's the biggest game of all time, pretty much. Give me the Lions. I think Anzalone being back is just that's what we need. We need that man back. He is too important.
yes,
I think we're gonna go from allowing 32 a game to 27.
31.
To 27, which isn't crazy, but like that's enough. That is truly enough for us to win
You
all
really
these
just need
games.
to get a couple stops a game, and as long as the offense can carry you, you're good.
And I would like to say, now that we've all picked, that in the worst case scenario, if the Lions do win this game, I'm going to be sad. I think we're all going to be sad. We're all going to be mad. It ain't going to be the end of shit because the Lions are 8-0 on the road. So even if they lose this, the path does get a lot harder, but it's not impossible. This isn't a lose and you're dead no matter what. This is a lose and, well, fuck, it's tougher, but they still have as good a shot as anybody. So preface it with
That's what I'm
that.
saying. We gotta acknowledge what a season we've had, and no matter what. After this game, I think we take what we take. We go into the playoffs and do what we can. What if the NFL just said "fuck you guys" and they made this like a 1:00 game? It'd be the wildest thing ever. They're just like, yeah, well, it's not 1:00.
I think the NFL needs to say, fuck the division winners getting a guaranteed home playoff game. And I told Marshall this. The division winner should make the playoffs. That should never change. Like, winning your division is important. But, like, once you make the playoffs, they should reseed that shit for the playoffs. Like, the fact that either the Lions or the Vikings aren't going to get a home playoff game, but the Bucks or
I think
the
it's dumb.
Falcons
I think it
will.
should get you an auto bid. It should not give you the top
Exactly.
seed guarantee.
Exactly how I feel. It should give you an auto bid, and then once it gets to the playoffs, that shit gets reseeded.
It is tough because, like, you know,
It never comes up
maybe you
enough.
should
It's
be
the hard
rewarded
part.
a little bit more, like with home field advantage. I get it, but like, I don't know. It just feels unfair. Like, you're gonna tell me that the fucking like 9-8 Buccaneers or Falcons, whoever ends up sneaking into that last spot, you're gonna tell me that they're better than the fucking 14-3 fucking
Y'all,
Vikings or
I
Lions?
know,
Like, come
I
on.
know, y'all
wanted-
remember the. I think it was the 7-9 Commanders with Taylor Heineke versus Tom Brady and the Bucks in the wild
Yeah.
card.
Yeah,
That game was
Fucking
wild.
Commanders almost
That
won
was
that game.
crazy.
Like
Taylor
Heineke
Heineke.
went crazy.
He's a goat.
Heineke was crazy.
And that's the thing too. Like, it's hard to complain about because it never comes up enough. But like, it's just shitty that we're dealing with it. You know what I mean?
It is what it is, man. But trivia, what you got for us?
Real quick, the last time the Lions had the 1 seed was 1957.
Did they even have seating?
Hey, we won the championship that year.
We did win the championship that year. And so
That was the
far,
last banner hanging in our stadium.
and so far, looking at Lions history, we've won the conference with the 1 seed 4 times, and we've won 3 championships.
What's
So
funny?
I like
is-
that math.
is-
I
is
like the
speaking of-
math.
I
If we
remember
get
a
the 1.
time in 2020, the Lions were so bad. I remember going to, or no, 2019. I remember going to a game. Now they're not in there, but the banners that are in there now are us in championships in the 50s, and now it's the NFC North champions.
Yep.
In 2019, we were so bad. There were 2 years. You could probably look this up, but we had a banner for making the wild card spot in 2011. I remember that. We had they put up a custom banner that said wild card spot 2011 or something like that.
That's
we
crazy.
had a playoff appearances banner just until Dan took over. Like, they just removed that shit.
Yeah, they
The
should
Colts-
that
the
should
Colts
not
actually-
stay.
You probably saw
Dan
that
probably
shit and
said, "Get
"Take
rid of that
down."
shit." Yeah.
That's
Colts-
embarrassing.
The Colts, for how good their history is, they actually have a playoff appearances banner, which is fucking crazy to think about. Like,
Yeah.
I thought before, like, oh yeah, that should be up there, but now that like we're good, I'm like, get that shit the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
I also actually
Okay.
no, never mind. I'll
Go
just
ahead,
stick
Colin.
one
Go
out.
ahead,
No,
Colin.
it was gonna be something.
Nope, your
stupid.
turn.
No, the
Your turn.
Dallas gets
Nah,
it
yeah,
wrong.
Dallas,
You
keep going.
gotta see that through, Colin.
Go ahead, I'm waiting.
No, you're good. You're good. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. So
I also don't remember.
Okay.
Oh
Yeah,
my
okay.
gosh! Ain't no way. You're good. Oh yeah, Dallas, whenever you're
New
ready.
Year, same shit, Colin. That's all I gotta say. New Year, same shit.
You're right. You're right.
God. Okay.
So,
So the first, I wanted to ask you guys a question. Where would you rank if Saquon doesn't play? Because right now it's not 100% confirmed, but it's almost confirmed that he's not playing. Where, off of the top of your head, where would you rank Saquon's season amongst all-time great seasons?
Raw. Next question.
Cut.
You might want to just restart.
So, Saquon, of course, is having a legendary season. But where would you guys rank it off the top of your head amongst the greatest running back seasons of all time?
I have to look at the list.
I was
So,
gonna say, I'm not.
I
100%
got
sure.
a list.
I mean, it's up there.
Because I've heard people say, "Oh, it's the great like
It's definitely
top
like top
5, top 10." I don't know if it's top 10.
I don't. I was gonna say, I'm
Top
like,
10?
it's got to be
You don't
like,
know if it's top 10?
It's okay. It's got to be top 10.
it's got to be top 10. It might be fringe top 5.
Okay, so
Might be.
that's what I was hoping for. That somebody would think it's for sure top 10. Colin's saying close to top 5. I have
That's just off the top of my head.
off the top of your head. That's fine. Which, of course, I did some research. I looked up what is known as the 11 best seasons from a running back. And I want to compare Saquon's
I did them all in my
season.
head. I know exactly where I'm going to put him. I know exactly where he's going, and he is top 5.
Okay.
Okay, this is wild.
Okay. So, just to recap, if Saquon does not play the final week of the season, which we're assuming, Saquon is going to finish with 2,005 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns, 278 receiving yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. Like I said, that's a great season. Great season. Let's compare that season. And let me get this. I'm not trying to degrade Saquon's season at all. I just want to compare a legendary season to other legendary seasons. So let's compare it to last year CMC.
Real quick,
Yes.
the game's in Philly. Do you guys think the fans are going to boo? Because
Yes.
they're not playing Saquon?
If I was a Philly fan,
Yes.
Philly fans do everything. Let's
Philly
start
fans
there.
are.
Let's say David Montgomery was in this situation.
I
Oh
wouldn't
my
mind
gosh.
Probably boo.
I would
Riot.
be fucking.
Yeah.
I would be gunning for Dan's head. I'm not even.
Dan
I
would
be
not
so
care.
pissed.
Saquon. David Montgomery could have
David might play him
2,400.
anyway, honestly.
That's true.
David could have 2,400 yards, and Dan be like, "You want to boost that record? No, get your ass in there. Get your ass in there. I don't care." But Dan would. Oh my gosh, Dan would never sit that man over that record.
All right.
Anyways,
Let's compare it to last year CMC. Christian McCaffrey had 1,459 rushing yards with 14 rushing touchdowns, paired up with 564 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. How would we compare those two seasons?
give me Saquon.
Yeah.
No question.
CMC's year is amazing, and that's where it's going to be difficult with these is like the receiving yards. But I think Barkley has almost 300 receiving yards too. Like he's not
just under.
He's no scrub. He just doesn't have the touchdowns, but I think 2,000 yards mean more. So yeah, I'm gonna go Saquon.
Okay. Next up, I have 2005 Sean Alexander. Won the MVP this year.
Madden cover.
Yep. He had 1,880 yards, 27 touchdowns. He had 78 receiving yards with 1 touchdown.
Give me Saquon.
Saquon, that one's kind of crazy to me. 27 touchdowns, Marshall.
How many
What's
yards?
Saquon at?
Saquon has 21 total. I'm sorry, hold on.
How many
I mean,
yards
if you
did
think
Sean
about it,
Alexander-
how many
I'm
of those
sorry.
were robbed from him?
I'm sorry, Saquon has 15 total.
How many yards does Sean Alexander have?
27 rushing touchdowns.
No, how
He
many
had-
yards? How many yards?
He has
1,800.
300 less yards.
1,880.
300 less yards, but double the touchdowns basically.
I think I'm gonna take Saquon.
That's crazy to me, honestly.
See,
I mean, I feel like I got to stick to my agenda. This touchdowns are what matters. So,
Agenda.
but I will say I think that Saquon probably got quite a few of those robbed from him
Which
playing
is
in
fair.
Philly. But
Yeah, give me. I wanted to look at another stat. Give me Saquon.
Yeah.
5.1 a carry from Sean Alexander compared to Saquon's 6. And a lot of those touchdowns were robbed from him because Jalen Hurts is a tush push. And Saquon sat in some of those games. He sat in blowouts. I'm taking Saquon.
Yeah, I think
that's actually a good point.
I think if you were to show me blind stats, I would pick Sean Alexander, obviously. But like when you put it in the context of how many 1-yard touchdowns that Jalen Hurts had, even if you give half of them to Saquon, you're talking you're adding 5 touchdowns, even if you only had half of them. So it's like I'm gonna default it to who I think is the better player, and I would say it's Saquon. So like that's what I'm gonna go with.
That is very interesting.
This year, Jalen Hurts has 14 rushing touchdowns.
I understand.
Yeah, so then he's
I understand Dallas'
22
point with
if you
that
give him
100%.
half of those.
Like I said, I'm just defaulting it to, and Alexander won the MVP, so like that is a big plus on his side. But I just think Saquon's better. I that's what it boils down to me.
But who had the better season? That's not the argument. Who's better? The better season.
I would say which season is better.
Yeah, and I understand statistically his season looks better, but when you put it in context, I think it's Saquon.
I'm gonna stay locked in.
All right, moving on. 2009 CJ 2K. He had 2006 rushing yards.
Are you going in order of years, or are you just going?
I'm just going in order of like what was listed as the top.
Okay.
Top listed. So 2009 CJ 2K. He had 2006 rushing yards with 14 rushing touchdowns, 503 receiving yards with 2 touchdowns.
It's.
But you're telling me he had 1 more yard than Saquon?
1 more yard than Saquon.
1 more yard is crazy.
1 more touchdown.
well, there we go. I mean,
shut the fuck up.
200 more receiving yards.
Give me Saquon.
That's the thing is like statistics are like such a bad measuring stick, you know, because like they don't tell the
That's
full
a crazy
story.
quote.
Gotta ride him till he sucks, you know.
That's even worse.
I thought we were leaving that in 2024, guys.
No, that is not getting left in nowhere in 2024.
Didn't we just say something else? Someone said something else the other day that was worse.
Not worse.
Yeah.
No, someone said something
It was
the other
Joe
day. And I remember.
Burrow.
Oh, it was just a.
Yeah,
it
I
was
was
the
just saying
tape
Joe
that-
Burrow said we locked eyes and I just started doing it. But that's
That's
crazy.
what it was. That's what it was.
Give me Saquon.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Saquon. I know it's close, but
Yeah, I'm also gonna go Saquon, even though he didn't have as much. But this is also something I wish I would have said with Sean Alexander. A big thing I think you got to take into account here is the era. Like they were running the ball so much more in 09, and it was so much more of like run-driven football. So Saquon doing it in 2024, I think holds more weight than if somebody had the exact same stats 10, 20, 30 years ago.
that's true because he has. Like,
That's why I think
significantly
Don
less carries
Hudson
than,
is a
like,
top
most
10
of these
wide
guys.
receiver of all time.
That's
He won 3 Triple Crowns. I don't want to hear it.
no, yeah, back when fucking 5 people were playing wide receiver. So
Exactly, the time and error. Moving on, 2006 MVP LaDainian Tomlinson, 1,815 rushing yards, 28 rushing touchdowns, 508 receiving yards with 3 touchdowns.
I'm gonna go LaDainian Tomlinson.
And that makes 0 sense because you took Barkley over Sean Alexander.
I'd rather have LT over Sean Alexander. I'm kind of on the same page as Donnie. I think LT's a better player than Sean Alexander, and he averaged what I just looked at it. He averaged 0.2 more yards a carry. He had the 1 extra touchdown, a little bit more overall yardage. He was technically a little bit better than Sean Alexander.
For the reason that you just gave, Don Dallas, you just gave for his pick being crazy. I'm going to use as my justification for going LT here. Because I got to be consistent with my thoughts.
Yeah, I understand Dallas' point if it sounds crazy, but also Prime LT is fucking that guy. That Charger, the Chargers didn't have an offense outside that fucking guy. Like he was, like Saquon is the engine of the Eagles' offense, but they also have Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown. Like LT had Antonio Gates, which is awesome, but it's also a tight end, and then Phillip Rivers, who's a good quarterback, but not like an all-time great quarterback. So, yeah, give me LT.
All right, moving on. 1973 O.J. Simpson in 14 games,
OJ.
2003 rushing yards, 12 touchdowns, 70 receiving yards, no receiving touchdowns.
OJ, 100%.
My concept so fast, OJ. The era is so much different, but it's OJ. It really is. It's just if it was 16 games, no, and I know the era is different, but it was some tough football back then. So 14 games is wild.
People were dying on the field back then.
Shit, they died a couple years ago, but hey.
Yeah. I'm gonna go OJ. I am.
Yeah, I'm with Marshall. I know statistically it's not like crazy, but to rush for 2,000 yards in 14 games, it's like Jerry Rice's 22 touchdowns in 12 games. Like
that's insane.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So much more for the fact that he didn't the amount of games. So
could you imagine betting in the 90s and it's like, should we take Jerry Rice anytime touchdown? It's like, you mean 2+ touchdowns? Like
at minus 500. So honestly, it might not be a good bet. But yeah, give me OJ. 2014 is fucking wild.
Yeah.
All right.
Killer on and off the
field. Allegedly.
No gloves. Go bit that.
Next up, we got 1998 Terrell Davis. He did win the MVP this season. 2,008 yards rushing, 21 rushing touchdowns with 217 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns.
Huge Terrell Davis. I think Terrell Davis is great, but I'm going Saquon.
Yeah. We don't have to go in order. This is kind of a free-form thing. You don't have to look at it.
All right, well, we've been going in order, other than you jumping out for your favorite player ever, OJ. Like,
he did, OJ.
That was the only one you haven't gone second.
Because it was 14 games. I was like,
that was
no
okay,
way.
But it was still the only one you haven't gone second for. So
yeah, I'm gonna go Saquon.
Yeah, Terrell Davis had crazy years, but I'm gonna go with Saquon.
All right. This one was kind of, which year do I pick? Do I pick 1999 Marshall Faulk or 2000 Marshall Faulk? I decided to pick 2000 because that was the year he won MVP. They were pretty similar years anyway, but Marshall Faulk, he had 1,359 yards rushing, 18 rushing touchdowns with 830 receiving yards and 8 receiving touchdowns in 14 games.
Man, that toughens it up. I didn't realize they played 14 games in the late 90s.
Yeah,
well, he did. He only played 14 games.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say. Damn.
And I think that was the reason I picked 2000 versus 99, because 99 he had the all scrimmage record, but 2000 he won the MVP in 14 games.
Imagine a running back winning the MVP.
Crazy that he didn't win the MVP the year that he had that scrimmage record.
Well, imagine a running back today winning the MVP and they didn't even play in every game. That would be that's fucking crazy.
That is insane. Yeah.
I'll go Marshall Faulk.
I think I'm gonna go Marshall Faulk.
Yeah, I think it was close before you said 14 games. I probably would have leaned Saquon, but to do it,
that's what I was doing. Is I was leaning Saquon still. I was like,
I think that.
And then he said in 14 games, and I was like, oh.
I think the edge is in Falk's favor. Plus, that was in 2000, like 800
2000.
receiving yards from a running back in 2000.
See, that's the thing
Like-
is you're getting close to 1,000 receiving yards as a running back. I was like that because at first I was like, oh, 1,300 yards, like that's really not a lot. And then he was like 800 receiving yards in 14 games, and I was like,
That's-
oh shit.
That's what almost 100 yards a game on the ground, and then fucking what 80 something in the air every game. Like that's
Well,
Yeah,
99,
roughly. Oh, I guess like 70. Actually.
99 when he did break the scrimmage record, he did have 1,000 receiving yards.
yeah, that's crazy.
So that was those 2
Fuck
years
crazy.
might be the greatest 2 years a running back's ever had.
He did that shit. He did that shit back when that didn't happen. Imagine if he was like today. He's really the CMC of 20 plus years ago.
Yeah,
All right, the biggest talk of the town right now, 1984 Eric Dickerson. Eric Dickerson, of course, had the record for most rushing yards in a season with 2,105 yards, 14 touchdowns, paired up with 139 receiving yards and 0 touchdowns.
Give me Saquon. Give me Saquon. He had about 40 more. Eric Dickerson had about 40 more touches. Give me
a
Saquon.
solid point.
Eric Dickerson, I also felt like was like the biggest running back ever.
This one's tough.
Bro's also got those goofy
It
ass
is, bro.
breasts. Huh?
Did Dickerson win MVP that year?
He did not.
Kind of crazy.
I think I'm gonna lean Dickerson. Just like ever so slightly.
This one is really tough. This one I feel like you could truly go either way. I'm gonna go with Dickerson just because he does have the record, and that needs to be respected, even if he did have 40 more touches. Because we didn't do that. In his fairness, we didn't do that with any of these other guys. We didn't ask how many touches they all had. So, in fairness, having
to be
the
fair, I
record-
have. So, in my friend, I've literally every person that else has said, I've gone and looked at how many carries and their yards
All right,
per
well,
game.
Okay, looking it
fucking
up
me
is
and
not the
Colin,
same
the
as
normal
asking.
ones, haven't done that. So, okay. So yeah, just rushing record, like that's. I feel like that's a default top 3 rushing year ever. So I'm gonna go with that.
So, I looked it up. Eric Dickerson finished second in MVP voting behind Dan Marino, who threw for 5,000 yards and 48 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's valid.
Holy shit, yeah.
Yeah.
in
That's crazy
84.
because Dan held that record for a long time. So we have the rushing yards record and the passing yard record for like
What year was that?
20 years. That's
84?
84.
And 84 to go for 5K and 48 touchdowns is insanity.
This is really like
That's why Troy Aikman was a bum.
this is like different level thing. I know this is like higher level thinking, but like I wonder if there was like some defensive rule change that year where I think it's kind of weird we had the passing yards record and the rushing yard record get set in a single year on the same year.
It's
That was a
possible.
record for like 20 years. I wonder if something like in the NFL changed, you know?
That's very possible. All right. Moving on. 2012 MVP Adrian Peterson, the last running back to win MVP. He had 2,097 rushing yards, 12 touchdowns, 217 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown.
This was
Detroit Lions legend.
2012 Lions legend Adrian
busy
Peterson.
for Lions legend.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go with the Lions legend. One pride, baby. Let's go.
One pride, baby.
Hang the banner.
I'm going to go with Adrian Peterson.
He was crazy that year.
Again, to kind of, I just looking at it, it's like Donnie said, they ran the ball more a little bit back then. So Eric Dickerson obviously got, and he had more touches. He averaged 5 yards to carry. AP did this in 2012. You look at like the Legion of Boom, all these great defenses. 2012 had some nasty defenses, and he averaged 6 yards a carry. and basically 2,100 yards. AP was a monster in 2012. Then he decided to be dumb off field.
Am I crazy? Didn't he tear his ACL in 2011? That's what I'm trying to look up right now, because
It might have been the year after.
The year before he had 2,000 yards, he had 970. And then in 2014, he had to have been injured too, because he only played one game. And the following season, he ran for 1,500 yards. But, so I might sound dumb here. No, I'm pretty sure it was 2011. Because in 2011, he only played in 12 games. And then he played for 16 the following year. So, I'm going to go with Adrian Peterson solely because I'm very confident that he tore his ACL the year before that. Back when, like, coming back from an ACL tear wasn't, like, a guarantee. So to come back and rush for almost 2,100 yards is kind of truly unheard of, especially at that time, given it was only a decade ago or so. But
he did. Yeah, Adrian Peterson tore his ACL and MCL on Christmas Eve in 2011.
See, and that's the other thing. He tore, like, Kyler Murray tore his ACL 2 years ago around Christmas time, and he didn't come back until, like, week 10 of the following year. For a running back to tear their ACL around Christmas and come back, what is that, 7 months later? Like, 7 months later, be playing football again? Like, that's, I don't know if that'll happen.
At that high of a level.
That's fucking crazy.
Give me AP. AP's.
I'm going to go AP, even if it wasn't, he could have came back and ran for 1,800 yards, and I would say that's better, just coming off that kind of injury. So, yeah, give me AP.
All right. Next up, we have Fourth and Wrong Hall of Famer, 1963 Jim Brown. He finished.
Go with a Billy Cannon.
Nah. Billy Cannon didn't make the list, unfortunately. You know.
Thank goodness.
He would have been a lock. Had to have been better.
1963 Jim Brown. He had 1,863 yards rushing, 12 rushing touchdowns with 268 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns in 14 games.
Give me Saquon. Bro was playing against my neighbor.
How many games did he play?
14.
I take that back. I realized 14. Hold on. Let me rethink it a little bit.
1,863
I forget.
yards in 14
1,800
games.
yards in 14 games.
14
Back then.
games.
Back then when they fucking didn't even have a shotgun offense. It was literally just fucking handing that shit straight up.
Yeah, 14 games. Yeah, give me Jim Brown.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm going Jim.
Brown or someone else?
Jim
Brown.
You said give me Jim. So.
Jim Barkley, actually.
Jimmy John. Like,
Jim Barkley.
Jimmy Johns.
Yeah, the 14 games thing is crazy. Obviously it was a different time in that skews stuff, but that's just too many yards in 2 little games. Give me Jim Brown.
all right. Did not win the MVP that year, by the way. He
Who
got
the fuck won MVP?
He got the voters fatigue. The quarterback Y.A. Tittle won the MVP.
I mean, shit, Wyatt Tittle's a Hall of Famer. Don't say it like that.
He had 3,148 passing yards, 36 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions.
That's actually incredible for back then.
In 1963.
I was waiting for you to say like 30 touchdowns and 25 interceptions. I'm not gonna lie. Like, that's pretty good.
But yep, and then
no tape to show for it. That's great.
No tape to show for it. And then moving on to our final running back season, 1997 MVP Barry Sanders.
It's Barry. It's always Barry.
2,053 rushing yards, 11 rushing touchdowns, 305 receiving yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns.
Most yards per carry out of all the running backs. And he asked the guys to take him out of the game. He did. I don't even think he finished that game that he got he got 2K or whatever he got.
Well, to be fair, Saquon didn't either.
Oh, I know.
He didn't finish his last game.
Well, I'm taking Barry. Absolutely. Barry probably is the best running back season. It's close. But if I'm thinking most dominant, it's most dominant running back season of all time is probably Barry.
Yeah, I would agree. Give me Barry.
This is tough because when you first said it, I was gonna go Saquon. I'm not gonna lie, but then I started thinking about probably the biggest difference between the two, and I would say O-line. Saquon running behind the Eagles O-line which is very, very good. It's not the best, but it's extremely good versus the fucking nobodies the Lions were trying.
What year was that, Dallas?
97.
97. Like, I think they had Lomas Brown, who is like a Lions all-time great, but he didn't have Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata. Like, he didn't have those guys.
So here's the Lions O-line. Do you guys know any of the? I know one of them.
Lomas Brown should be the only person we fucking know.
He's not on here.
Oh, maybe. I think
Ray Roberts, Mike Compton, Kevin Glover, Jeff Hartings, and Larry Tharp. By the way, these guys, the left tackle played 4 years in the NFL. The left guard played 3. The right guard played 1 year in the NFL. The right tackle played 4 years. The center played 12 years in the NFL. Kevin Glover was the only guy. He made 2 Pro Bowls. He played Detroit for a long time. But yeah, the rest of them combined didn't even play 16 games in the NFL. None of them made a Pro Bowl. None of them got any awards.
I was going to say, in their defense, how many O-linemen from the 90s can we name, period? But after all that, yeah, I guess we don't have to respect them. So, yeah, I'm going to go Barry just because he was dealing with such a deficit. Even if statistically his weren't better, like, you got to go. You got to go Barry.
The Lions proceeded to go 9-7 that year.
9-7 the MVP is crazy.
All right, with that being said, the fourth
Joe Burrow.
I wasn't gonna say that.
I was gonna say Joe Burrow.
I was not gonna say that. I thought it. I wasn't gonna say it. With that being said, the Fourth and Wrong podcast has determined Saquon Barkley's season. That Saquon Barkley's season this year is roughly a top 8 or 9 season of all time.
Not better than Barry's, not better than LT's, not better than Adrian Peterson's.
Yep, I'll list it off. Barry Sanders, Jim Brown, Adrian Peterson, Eric Dickerson, Marshall Faulk, OJ, LT, and then the 50-50 in my eyes is that Sean Alexander year.
Bro, you're forgetting one of the best
We all
seasons.
determined it was.
Where's Amir Abdullah 2015?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, that's probably where I would have had it. Definitely top 10, fringe top 5. Pretty on the line.
So yeah,
Well,
A little lower than I thought it would be, but you know.
I still think it's a little low just considering the eras, but I mean, it's not crazy.
Well, that is it for this episode of the Fourth and Wrong podcast. Thank you guys for watching. This is our last podcast for the regular season of the 2024-2025 season. Obviously, we'll be here next week for playoffs, and we'll be into some talks of playoff football. We made it through the regular season. Every pick we've made through the regular season. It's been one hell of a ride. That's two full regular seasons in a row we've been doing these podcasts. So thank you guys for watching. Big game on Sunday. It's going to be an insane game. I don't think any of us are ready for it, but two of us will be there. It's going to be a wild game. Blackout jerseys, whiteout jerseys. One of the best regular season games of all time. So thank you guys for watching. We will see you guys next week for the start of the playoffs. Peace.